Hey everybody, Dr. Nelson here. This is a video about solving and graphing compound inequalities, okay? And we're going to first look at the OR type of problems, okay? So there's going to be some notes, so follow along with me please, and then there'll be some problems for you to try, and then at the end you can see how you did, alright? So take a look at this first one. We have 2x is less than 10, or x divided by 2 is greater than or equal to 3, alright? But before we do this, don't forget about the golden rule. Alright? Remember, anytime you multiply or divide both sides in the equality by a negative, you have to flip the sign. Alright? That's a key rule which you gotta use. Alright? So the way you do this is, notice we have, it's almost like two little mini problems. We have the 2x is less than 10. Then also the x divided by 2 is greater than or equal to 3. So I'm going to rewrite the first one up here. So it's going to be 2x is less than 10. And then I'm going to write the second one down here. So x divided by 2 is greater than or equal to 3. And then I'm going to solve both. So divide by 2 and divide by 2. So this one, x is going to be less than 5. And this one I'm going to multiply by 2, right? And because it's a positive, I'm not going to flip the sign, right? So x is going to be greater than or equal to 6. And now what you do is we're going to graph both these inequalities. Alright, so x, let me use a different color here. So x is going to be less than 5. So it's going to be an open circle. And it's going to be the values going this way with an arrow, right? And then x also is going to be greater than, okay, or equal to 6. So this is going to be a closed circle. And it's going to be all the values going to the right here. Alright? So one question I could ask you is, name me a value that does not work for this compound inequality. Okay? And you could say, well, 5 or above all the way till you get to the number 6, right? So right here, like 5.5 would not work for this inequality. Alright? Alright, if you turn the page, let's try another one. So here we have 7v minus 5 is greater than or equal to 65. And then also negative 3v minus 2 is greater than or equal to negative 2. So let me rewrite the first one here. So 7v minus 5 is greater than or equal to 65. And let's just solve this. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Add 5. So we're going to get 7 times v is greater than or equal to 70. And then divide both sides by 7. And you get v is greater than or equal to 10. So that's the first one. The second one, we have, with a different color here, we have negative 3v minus 2 is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now I'm going to solve for v by adding 2 to both sides. So we get negative 3v is greater than or equal to 0. Now I got to divide both sides by negative 3. Which means v is going to be, now we divided by a negative, right? So because of that, we have to flip the sign. So v is going to be, instead of greater than or equal to 0, it's going to be less than or equal to 0. So that's going to be the second inequality we're going to graph. Alright? So let me go back to blue here. So this one, v is going to be greater than or equal to 10. So it's going to be a closed circle, right? Right here. And all the numbers to the right of 10 are going to work for that one. Then let me graph the second one in red, and this is going to be a closed circle at 0, and v is going to be less than or equal to 0, and there it is. Alright, now that you have a better understanding of how to graph OR statements, why don't you pause the video and try the your turn problems now, and then when you're done, hit play, and you can see how you did. Alright, good luck. Alright, welcome back. Let's see how you did with these problems. Okay, so the first one we had 4n is greater than 8. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Which means n is going to be greater than 2. So let me graph that. So we're going to have an open circle. Alright, and n is going to be greater than 2. So we're going to go to the right, like so. The second one, we have 5n is less than or equal to negative 10. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5, which means n is going to be less than or equal to negative 2. So this one is going to be a closed circle, and all the values here work. And there it is. All right, so a question I could ask that on a quiz could be, name a value that would not work for this inequality, right? And you could say negative 1, 0, or 1, because they're not in either the red inequality or the blue. All right? All right, the second problem, if you turn the page, this one's a little more advanced, but not too bad, okay? And we have negative 10b plus 3 is less than or equal to negative 37. So I'm going to first take away 3 from both sides. And we have negative 10 times b is going to be less than or equal to negative 40. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 10. And remember, when I do that, I have to flip the sign, right? That's the golden rule. So b, now instead of being less than or equal to 4, is going to be greater than or equal to 4. So let's graph that. So it's going to be a closed circle. And b is going to be greater than. Now let's graph the second one. So for this one, I'm going to add 10 to both sides, right? And add 10 to both sides. So we have 3 times b is going to be less than or equal to negative 15. Divide both sides by 3. Divide both sides by 3. And you get b is going to be less than or equal to negative 5. And now let's graph this. So we're going to have negative 5. That's going to be a closed circle. And we're going to have all the values to the left of negative 5. And there it is. All right, how'd you do?